Good evening or good afternoon, I guess I should say. Welcome, my friends, to another edition of Reverse Mortgage Weekly, where we go over the reverse mortgage program in detail. Well, in enough detail for a half hour. There's a lot of things, everybody's situation is different. There's a lot of things that go on with this program that are specific to people's situations, and also specific to people's philosophies as well. So yes, we go over as much information as we can. I am your host. My name is Zach Smith. I own Chariot Financial, and I've been in the mortgage and real estate industry for 21 years now. Can you believe it? Well, actually, be 21 years in May. So almost 21 years. But my name is Zach P. Smith. P stands for Philip. I am a CSA. I don't know if any of you are familiar with that designation, but it is a certified senior advisor. So it's a very strenuous designation to get. It's pretty hard. The test is hard, and you have to do a lot of hours of education and all that good stuff. But I am so glad that I got that designation because, one, I feel like it does set me apart from some of my competitors, and also it helps me understand working with older adults and being able to serve them in the best way that I can. So what are we going to go over during this presentation besides me talking about me? So this is what we're going to go over. We're going to go over what typical clients that we see for reverse mortgage, what a reverse mortgage is, what a reverse mortgage is not, and why people are choosing a reverse mortgage. Why are people doing this program right now? And there's a lot of talk about it. Some of it is accurate and some of it is not very accurate. So, and I've always said this, and I'll say this time and time again to folks who ask me my opinion of the reverse mortgage. Of course, if you ask me, I'm the guy who originates them. I'm going to tell you it's a great idea. I'm going to tell you that as soon as I'm old enough to get a reverse mortgage, I'm running down to the bank to get one. Yes, and that's absolutely 100% factual because I've seen what it does for my clients' lives, and I've seen what a great financial planning tool it's been for a lot of my clients in the past as well. And just seeing all the research that's done on it, I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. I will definitely be getting a reverse mortgage as soon as I'm old enough. But what I tell people, if you really want to know how this program is working, talk to somebody who's got one. Talk to them, see how it's working out for them. Because I've seen, it's just such a fulfilling way to be of service, because I've seen people literally weeping at closing because they didn't think things were possible. They didn't think they could buy that house. Well, with a reverse mortgage, sometimes you qualify for a lot more than you would on a forward mortgage, simply because of the risk assessment. The risk assessment on a forward mortgage, if you go to your bank, get a mortgage, well, the first thing they're going to ask you is, how are you going to pay us back? Well, there's a risk assessment. They want to find out if they lend you a couple $100,000, are they going to get it back? So they're going to look at your income. They're going to look at your assets. They're going to look at your credit. And they're going to take that magnifying glass out, and they're going to take a look and say, hey, is this person worthy, credit worthy is what they call it. Well, a lot of times seniors are on fixed incomes. So their income is not going to look that great. So they walk into the bank, and the first thing they tell them is, you got to have income to borrow money. So a lot of folks get discouraged, and I've had clients like that in the past who go all over town. Everybody tells them, no, you don't make enough. Credit's too bad. Sorry, can't help you. But those are the type of clients we've been able to turn into homeowners and home buyers over the years, because the risk assessment on the reverse mortgage is different, mainly because the payment on a reverse mortgage, and again, yes, I'm saying payment on a reverse mortgage. A lot of people think that there's no payment on a reverse mortgage. In fact, we had one of these big companies, they got celebrity advertisers out there for the reverse mortgage saying, hey, we're going to eliminate this a few years ago. Okay. But they got in trouble for this. They said, oh, we're going to eliminate your mortgage payment. You're going to hear a lot of people who originate these loans who maybe aren't as well versed also promoting that. We're going to eliminate your mortgage payment. No, it's not eliminating your mortgage payment. With a reverse mortgage, you still have a monthly payment, but it is optional. So if you want to make a monthly payment and treat the reverse mortgage like a regular loan, you can do that. One of the things that people look at this loan is they see that it's negatively amortizing, meaning that the balance will go up over time. Keep in mind, again, that is a choice. If you want to treat this like a regular loan, you can do that. You can pay it off. You can still do everything you do with a normal loan. You're just not forced to. And 95% of the clients that I work with, they decide not to make that monthly payment because they figure, well, hey, that monthly payment's going to do a little bit better in my pocket than it is locked up in my equity. And we're going to go over a lot of these points during this class, but equity is one of the big ones. So I digress. Qualifying for a reverse mortgage is much different than qualifying for a forward mortgage because the payment is optional. Well, if the payment's optional, guess what? Your income doesn't have as much as an impact. Now, yes, they're going to look at your income. They're going to look at your what they call residual income is what they're really focused on. And what that means is that they just need to make sure that, if they get you a loan, you're going to be able to afford your taxes on your property, your insurance, your HOA, your living expenses, the maintenance, all those things. So there's still some light qualifying, but not nearly as intense as it would be with a forward mortgage, because again, on a forward mortgage, you got to crack that nut every single month to make that payment. Well, if the payment's optional and you say, you know what, maybe I want to take that payment that I was normally making with my cash flow, with my Social Security, maybe I'll take that and I'll buy groceries with it. I'll stock up on groceries, or I'll take a trip, or whatever the case may be. But you're freeing up cash flow. Yes, you are sacrificing some of your equity to do that. But as we're going to see, equity doesn't do you a whole lot of good in retirement. It doesn't do a whole lot of good for anybody, really. I mean, it does. I mean, don't get me wrong. But the problem with equity is it's not liquid. So it's a lot like having a glass coffee table right there in the middle of your living room full of cash that you can't get to. So you're sitting there on the couch, watching your favorite show or whatever, and got your feet up on your coffee table. Oh, look at all that cash. Isn't that great? Well, if something were to happen, the car breaks down, or you need groceries, or whatever the case may be, there's a lot of talk about inflation these days. If you need cash, you can't get to it. You either got to sell the property, which begs the question, where are you going to go? And then, with rents these days, oh my gosh. I mean, I was just doing a comparison today on rent versus buying for some of my first-time home buyers. And it's amazing how much rent has gone up over the years. So, and that's the advice that you're going to get a lot from folks, especially the financial gurus, quote unquote. Their goal is for you to run out of your cash and then sell your house and then go rent or live with family. Living with family is fine, that's no problem. But some people want to age in place, and it's actually shown that, you live longer if you do age in place. And if you want to talk about burning through cash, if you have to go to an assisted living facility, here in Colorado, you're looking at 24-hour care. I mean, over $10,000 a month for private care. $10,000 a month, $120,000 a year. So if you've ever seen folks, go through their entire retirement in a short amount of time, it's usually because of housing costs. Now, what if you could eliminate those housing or transfer those housing costs, not eliminate them? If you could transfer those costs into an optional type situation when you needed it the most, when you had the least amount of cash flow that you may have had in your whole life, what kind of difference would that make? That's what we're talking about today. That's the reverse mortgage program, increasing cash flow for millions of Americans every single day. So we're also going to go over how they work in simple terms. So let's go ahead and get back to the presentation here. So who are typical clients that we see with the reverse mortgage program? Well, one of the folks that we see, we're looking for folks that basically have cash flow crunch. You're not making as much as you did in your youth. You're on a fixed income. You don't want to work into your 60s. You don't want to work into your 70s. Folks who are equity rich and cash poor, basically. And we see it all the time, especially because housing prices have gone up so much, so exponentially here in the last 10 years or so, that, you have a lot of older Americans who are not making a whole lot, but they have a lot of equity. But again, the problem with equity is it's not liquid. We can't eat equity. You can't go down to the grocery store and show them a picture of your house and pay for your groceries. So, second section of folks that we see are older adults that need relief from high monthly payments and debts, like a mortgage loan, credit card payments, car payments, medical bills. Maybe you're helping your grandkids with their student loans or something. Whatever the case may be, Americans, we have a lot of debt. I mean, that's something that we're kind of known for. We run things up on a credit card, and we don't pay cash for things. And a lot of these financial gurus out there who have their opinions about things. A lot of what they're talking about is live within your means. Don't get over out in debt unnecessarily. So if you have, let's say, a situation where you have a large mortgage payment, and I've had clients in the past that would be taking rating from their life savings, their nest egg, which becomes vitally important in retirement because we don't know how long we're going to need those funds. You could live to 70, you could live to 80, you could live to 90, you could live to 100. You don't know. But I'll tell you what, the difference between 70 to 100 is 30 years. So to plan to have cash, to be solvent for 30 plus years is going to be much different than if you're planning for 10 years. So your nest egg becomes vitally important in retirement. And if it were up to me, none of my clients would ever have to touch their nest egg. So if you can eliminate, let's say, a mortgage payment, or basically make it an optional payment. Again, I'm careful with my language too, So if you want to make that payment optional, because I've had clients that were rating their life savings, their nest egg, their crown jewel that they need to keep, that they need to have on tap in case they need to pull funds out of that, pulling money out of that every single month so that they can pay their mortgage payment. That is a recipe for disaster. Because one, if it's going that way, if you're pulling out of your savings to pay on your housing when you don't need to necessarily, now if you're renting and you're pulling out of your savings to pay your rent, there's not a whole lot we can do for you. That's why I get on my soapbox every single day when I talk to my first-time home buyers, and I let them know how important it is to buy real estate. And anybody out there who's watching this, that if you don't own real estate, go out and get real estate. Yes, buy. You buy real estate and you wait. You don't wait to buy real estate, because real estate tends to go up. And a lot of the research that is being done right now, especially on millennials. Millennials are now the largest segment of our population. They have surpassed baby boomers. Well, they expect 50 million millennials to get into the housing market here in the next 10 years. That's a lot of demand. And what we know about supply and demand is that if there's a high demand and low supply, what happens? Prices go up. That's why, I get on my soapbox with people to buy real estate, not just because I benefit from it. Yes, I'm a lender. I find money for real estate, but because I know it's financially sound to do that. So if you're in a situation where you can convert your housing into a payment optional program, my gosh, I mean, you put yourself in a position where that nest egg is going to last a lot longer. Not only that, but when you're paying into a mortgage, especially a 30-year fixed, most of your payments going right to the bank. It's not going to pay off your mortgage. It's when you start investigating things and you start looking at an amortized schedule, 50% of the interest on that 30-year fixed loan is being collected in the first 10 years. What does that mean? That means that the deck is stacked against you when you do a 30-year fixed loan. That's why I'm a big proponent of the simple interest loan. So you can pay those off at will, payment goes down the next day, pay your principal down, all that stuff. But most people are either not going to qualify for those programs or just don't know about them, or, especially like banks and things like that. They got one gear, 30-year fixed. and 15-year fixed. Maybe they got another gear, 15-year fixed. But most people don't like 15 years. Personally, I don't like them either. But if you listen to the financial gurus, and honestly, you know what? A 15-year fix is the best way to go, bar none, because you're going to pay a lot less interest. But I would argue that a simple interest loan is even better than a 15-year loan, because not only does it put you in the driver's seat, but you pay down your much, much less interest. But the point I'm trying to make is that if you're sacrificing your life savings so that you can make a mortgage payment, and knowing that that payment, 50% of the interest is going right to the bank anyways, and not paying off your loan on an amortized schedule, and you know that when you get into a 30-year fixed loan, the deck is already stacked against you, in my opinion, that doesn't make sound advice. That's not sound advice at all. I firmly believe that if you're over 62, you should not be making a mortgage payment any longer. And the reason is that if you are, you're either taking it from your limited income, which can be limited in retirement, unless you have a pension or real robust retirement. Most Americans don't. They're living off Social Security, or they're living off a small annuity or something like that. So basically, if you're in a position over 62 and you're paying a mortgage payment, you're taking it from your limited income, or you're going to take it from your life savings. Those are the two buckets that you don't want to touch. You do not want to touch either one of those buckets. You want to keep away from those buckets as much as you can, because you need your cash flow, your income. You need that to survive, buy groceries. And you need your nest egg for the same reason, to survive, because your nest egg is more than likely going to be a little more liquid than your home equity is. Now, your home equity a lot of time is just sitting there. It's not really doing much for you. Remember, it's that glass coffee table right in the middle of your living room full of cash that you can't get to. So older adults that need relief from these higher monthly payments, let's say you take some cash out on a reverse mortgage to not only convert your current mortgage into a payment optional program. So now what happens with people in that situation of rating their life savings? Well, now that they have a payment optional mortgage, let's say they say, you know what, I'm not going to make my payment anymore. I'm going to live the rest of my life in my house, and I'm never going to make a mortgage payment. Well, let's say your payment was $1,400. Well, now instead of taking $1,400 out of your savings each month, guess where that $1,400 is going? It's going back into your savings now. It's going into your pocket. And the beauty of that is that once you have the flow going the other way, well, now you can direct those funds. Now you can say, you know what? I got an extra $1,400. I'm going to go ahead and direct this into an investment account for my grandkids or for my kids. I'm going to put it in a savings account. I'm going to donate to the causes that call to my heart. That's what you can do with those funds. But when you're handing it over to the bank in interest, you can't do that. So that's why, in my opinion, I think paying a mortgage when you're past 62 is just not a good idea, because of where you're getting those funds from. So also we're looking retirees that are looking to establish a safety net for unforeseen costs. Now, one of the questions that I ask folks, I'm certified in Colorado to teach for the state, and I have been for 6 years for the reverse mortgage program. And, just to have a little fun, make this a little light, it can get depressing when you start talking about the state of retirement in America. But to make things a little light, just to show how this kind of works, I always ask folks, okay, I tell them I got a suitcase full of $1 million here, and they can have it. You can have it. Or the other option that you have is there's a penny that will double every day for 31 days. And which one do you want to take? Well, a lot of you have probably heard this already. You want to take the penny, because after 31 days, that penny is worth how much? $10 million. That's right. If you take a dub and do the math, go ahead. If you got some spare time on your hands, just take a penny, double it every day. You get 1 penny, you get 2 penny, 4 penny, 8 penny, 16, 32. You take that out all the way to 31 days and you have $10 million. But guess what happens when you take that out at 15 days? You got $116. $116 at 15 days. Well, that's a lot like our retirement accounts. The longer you keep your funds in the retirement account, and don't take my word for it. Go to any financial planner. They'll talk your ear off about this stuff. If you keep your funds in the account, of course, with IRAs and things like that, they're going to demand and when I say they, I mean, Uncle Sam, our buddies there in Washington, going to say, look, you got this IRA, you got to start taking withdrawals. That's another conversation. But you do want to keep money in those accounts for as long as possible, because you're going to let that penny double and double and double. Realize the rule of 72. See that exponential growth. So again, we see people that come to us that are like, you know what? I want to keep my nest egg intact. And again, if it were up to me, none of my clients would ever touch their nest egg. Let's say you own your home free and clear. I have clients that'll come to us that they don't need to take any cash out. They just want a safety net. They want a financial safety net in case something happens. They don't have to reach into their retirement. They can reach into that line of credit. And guess what happens when you do that? When you do that, your survivability rate of your assets, and that is a real fear, and it's a very big concern for a lot of people, is running out of cash in retirement. Well, if you don't want to run out of cash in retirement, the best way to do that is to let that penny stay in there. Don't touch it. Don't touch it. So by going into your home equity, instead of going into your nest egg, you put yourself in a much better position long term. So basically, these are the three types of clients that we see. People are struggling with cash flow, people who want to eliminate debt, car payments, mortgage payment, or not eliminate the mortgage, but basically turn it into a payment optional, or pay off credit cards, things like that, and retirees looking to establish a safety net for unforeseen costs. So what is a reverse mortgage? It is a mortgage loan, so it's just like any other loan. It's with payments that are optional. Again, it has a monthly payment, but it's optional. If you want to make it, great. If you don't, then it goes on top of the loan. So it does negatively amortize. It's a very slow process. There's a misconception that the second you take one of these out, you're upside down on your property. Well, with current rates and current market conditions, you'd probably have to live to about 150 to go upside down on most of these programs. So generally, the reverse mortgage has a line of credit, cash payout, or a tenured paid out over time, which is kind of turns your house into like an annuity. It pays you each month. So what a reverse mortgage is not. The reverse mortgage is not a government takeover of your home, despite what your uncle tells you, or despite what your friends or whoever's told you. I've heard even people that are honest to God, trying to help people with their finances, really got a good heart, and they're out there just telling people, oh, this is just a way to take your house. It is not a way to take your house. It's in 2008, it was a really tough time. People were losing their homes, and there's a sentiment among folks that the bank wants your house. The bank doesn't want your house. It doesn't want real estate. Not when they can take your money with the amortized loan. That's what they want. They want you in a mortgage. They want you making deposits. They want to get a 30% interest rate on your credit card. That's the quick and easy money, not real estate. They don't want to take your house. It's not a government takeover of your home. It's not a way to make you upside down on your home either. That doesn't benefit the bank at all if you go upside down. In fact, they take on a lot of risk because of that. But with a reverse mortgage, they don't want your home to go upside down. And it's not a payment-free mortgage. Again, there is a mortgage payment, but it's just optional. If you want to make it, great. But you can get into a reverse mortgage. And, again, a lot of people say, oh, it's negatively amortized, bad idea. Well, it's only a bad idea if you choose that option. If you choose not to make that payment, you will go negatively amortized. But if you choose not to, you can treat it just like any other mortgage. Now, again, most of my clients say to heck with paying a mortgage payment, especially if most of my payment is going to the bank anyways in interest and not paying down the principal. Most of my clients choose not to make the mortgage payment. They're trading their equity that they've earned just by living in the house, $800,000 of equity in the last 20 years. I just did the statistics today. I looked up all the data. Over the last 20 years in Colorado, people have earned $838,000 in equity compared to when they started. 20 years ago. Well, on average, I mean, it's going to be fluctuate from one to the other, but to to have all that equity, and again, equity is great to have, it's not liquid, but it is equity and you can tap into it. And that's what the reverse mortgage does. So why are people choosing these as a retirement option? Well, it's simple, liquidity and long-term financial planning. Home equity and liquidity, equity is great, but unfortunately, it's not liquid. Again, it's like having that glass coffee table right in the middle of your living room full of cash that you can't get to. Well, it's not like we can take a picture of our house and, again, go down to the grocery store and hand it over to the cashier. Oh, I want to pay my groceries with this picture. They're probably not going to, it's not going to work. Let's put it that way. So why does this matter in retirement? Again, we've covered a lot of this already because I was just talking off the cuff there. Most retirees are on a fixed income. People don't want to work into their 60s and 70s, and unforeseen medical expenses can liquidate retirement assets prematurely. So the reverse mortgage basically solves this problem of liquidity that a lot of Americans have in retirement. It helps, it's designed to help older adults access equity when you need it. So that glass coffee table full of cash that you can't get to, well, the reverse mortgage basically just puts a little drawer in there. If you need it, you take it. If you don't need it, you just let it sit there. And the line of credit on the reverse mortgage does have a growth feature every single year. It's like a cost of living increasement that you have on your Social Security. Well, it's almost like having a second savings account. So the reverse mortgage is a financial planning tool. I'm kind of rushing through here because we only got a few minutes left. I've done this presentation before. You can see past presentations at our YouTube channel or Facebook. Or if you really want to get in depth, give me a call. You can set up an appointment at chariotreverse.com. I'm always available. So I'm going to be rushing through some of these last slides here. But as a financial planning tool, and again, you don't have to take my word for it. We got a link here of the Forbes highlights of, Texas Tech did a study. There's a Sachs did a study basically showing that in every study that if you ignore home equity in your financial planning, the survivability of your assets goes down dramatically. Now, if you use home equity in your financial planning, well, guess what? Your survivability of your assets goes up. So different types of reverse mortgage loans. Most mortgage loans that you're going to hear about is the HECM program. That is the FHA versions of and the most popular as well. It's basically a fancy name for a HECM. There's a lot of safety features that go along with that. Well, we know this fella. This is our good buddy, Tom Selleck, and his legendary mustache. The reverse mortgage loan is just like any other loan. The only difference is how you pay it back. And it's true. You don't pay back the loan until you vacate the residence. And whether that's through passing, going into a facility, moving to Costa Rica and saying to heck with this, as long as you're not in the property for 6 months and a day, it's not considered your primary residence any longer. And that is a violation of your contract with the reverse mortgage. So if it's no longer your primary residence, they're going to ask you to pay the loan. And you have 6 months to pay it off. So if you pass, your heirs will have 6 months to pay it off. They can also apply for 2 free 3-month extensions. So essentially a year before you have to pay off the loan. It is the most friendly loan for your family in the event that you do pass while you live in your house. So it's called a reverse mortgage because if you decide not to make that mortgage payment, well, it's going to go on the balance of the loan. So the 2 biggest myths about the reverse mortgage is you'll be upside down in your house in a few years. That's a lot like telling the farmer, he plants his crop and you go out there the week later, where's your crop? Same principle. It takes a really long time to go upside down on these programs. So you have to be in a reverse mortgage for quite some time to do that. And you no longer have title to the home. Again, that is completely false. So 3 ways to structure a reverse mortgage. You can take out a line of credit. You can get a cash payment, big suitcase full of cash at closing, or a tenured payment, which basically turns it into like an annuity. So you get paid each month. So how is the qualified amount determined? Well, it's based on age. The risk assessment, again, is going to be different than a forward mortgage because age plays a part. How long are you going to live? How long are you going to be in the house? So, for instance, someone who is 62 will qualify for less than someone who is 82. Well, that's all I got for you today. Again, my name is Zach Smith. I own Chariot Financial. You can reach us at chariotreverse.com. Once again, that's chariotreverse.com, chariotreverse.com. Feel free to give us a call anytime. Very happy to talk about your situation. Or you know what? If you just want to bounce things off me, I'll entertain that as well. So hope you have a great rest of your day, and we're happy to be of service. Many blessings to you and yours.